Welcome to the Seven Figure Builder channel. My name is Arthur the Developer. I've developed over 1,000 lots to date for the new construction game.
What's up guys, I'm Ruben the Builder. Over the past 6 years, I've built over 250 homes start to finish, and I'm super excited to have you here. Let's get into the video.
So Ruben's story is really cool because you went from $250,000 of debt to building your first personal house and literally paying off all of that 5 years of credit card debt. My story is I was in the auto industry and I was flipping cars, just really hungry to get into the real estate game, but I didn't have the right guidance, didn't have anybody to show me how to do it. I ended up offering to work for someone for free, and the long story short, learned the ins and outs of the business and started scaling into developing and hiring a builder to do that work for me.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I would like to share with you guys today as we enter into this video is mindset, okay? So no matter what you're doing in your life, guys, anything is possible if you set your mind to it. Yeah, you might not get everything that you want day one, but if you ultimately take baby steps towards your goal in your life, then you will be successful. And so for us, we got our breakthrough through real estate. You know, there's a statistic out there that says 90% of real estate, 90% of millionaires are made in real estate. Well, I find that true because the cash on cash returns, if you leverage safely, are absolutely incredible, and you can grow your cash really quickly in a safe way. And for us, that breakthrough was in real estate, and throughout our 7 years of real estate investing and building and new construction, and building over 250 homes, managing over $50 million of debt, raising capital, doing all of these different big ventures, we've realized that the personal house game is one of the strongest, most powerful punches that you can do. So put in the least amount of effort and get the most amount of return. Sure, maybe the personal house game is not scalable and you can't go out and build 10 personal houses and put 5 to 7% down on each house. But if you haven't done even one, then I strongly encourage you and recommend that you do just that. So a lot of the strategies that we're gonna break down in the 7 steps in this series, you'll find it very interesting, and it will apply to all different types of new construction real estate. But today, we're gonna focus specifically on the personal house game and finding land. So there are 2 strategies that we use to find land, and Arthur is going to break down those for you.
Yeah, before we get into that, what's really cool is we just did that series on, yes, you can put 5 to 7% down on a personal house, meaning land plus construction, total 7%. Because most people think, well, you have to put 50% down on the land, or you have to buy the land, then go get a construction loan. No, just as you're gonna go buy on the market, right? You can literally put 5 to 7% down and purchase. So the 2 different options on buying land, there's only 2 options. But within the 2 options, there's a ton of different strategies. Is 1, on the market. Whether you're using a real estate agent, you're using Zillow, Redfin, you're buying on the MLS. Or option 2, we call it off market or direct to seller, meaning direct to property owner. If you want to give us a little brief breakdown of on the MLS, maybe how we use this strategy, and I have a really cool analogy, but I'd love to have you share on that first.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that I'd like to highlight to somebody, if they're looking for land on the market, they really need to learn how to use search filters. And that matters, and it's very important because you can go on Redfin or Zillow, for example, if you don't have an agent yet. You can just click the filter lots, right? And you can have sometimes 500 to 1,000 lots to look at, but how do you know what's a good lot? How do you know what you can build there? How do you know if it's even feasible, if there's sewer, water, electricity at that lot, right? So you have to, number 1, learn how to use the filters correctly, right? Notice things like days on market, right? And then from there, you can start to at least have a general idea if this is even a good deal to pursue or not. And so that's what I would say is the general guideline for buying on the market. And I think the big key takeaway here is learn how to use the search filters. Arthur, what are some search filters that are very important to break down and understand when looking for lots on the market?
Yeah, I think it's really good and really important to use the filters rather than a buyer's agent, because I actually don't think I've ever closed a deal using a buyer's agent. I've closed deals on the MLS by me finding the deal through Redfin Zillow. I don't need access to the MLS sites. Then I send it to my agent and say, I like this deal, let's put an offer together. Well, how did I get that deal? Very simple. There's certain zip codes, certain areas. You can even draw on a map on Zillow, because if you put a Clark County, Washington, and you put anything that's a half acre, so you're gonna get
so to clarify, Clark County, Washington is what?
a general area.
Metro area
Correct.
of a population of 1 million people, 2 million
500,000 people.
500,000.
Whatever.
So just so you guys understand, right, when Arthur says Clark County, Washington, he's drawing an area of a map that has roughly a population of 500,000 to 1 million people. It's a general metro area. This is not a city. This is more of a suburb. Just so you guys can get a picture and get into his mind and understand what kind of filters he's using.
Well, I'm saying you start out with Clark County. I actually would not use that as a filter.
Oh, you wouldn't?
But now I'm going to hone in. The point is, if you do a very general filter, I want land in Clark County. Send me everything. You're going to get 1,000 properties. That doesn't work for me. What I do is
it's not feasible because too many properties to look at, too many deals to underwrite.
You don't have enough filters to hone down on what you're looking for specifically. So in your situation, for example, if you're looking for a 1/4 of an acre in the city of Vancouver, there's no such thing as a 1/4 of acre in the middle of the farmlands. So you got to choose your location, might be a zip code. Choose what you're looking for. For example, I'm looking for anywhere from a 1/4 acre to 1 acre of land, right? Within these 3 zip codes, you can do this filter. I just do a map. And now you have a general idea of what you're looking for. Then you do price points. That's a bigger factor. You could do all of Clark County. You want to do price points because if you're, again, in our previous videos, you get a pre-approval. I'm pre-approved for 600,000. Great. You now know a budget. Rule of thumb is 20% of the total finished value of the home is roughly what the land should be.
So even before using search filters, even before looking for land, we need to be looking at what we're building.
Right.
Okay, so let's break that down first then.
So let's say you go to your loan officer and you get a pre-approval for 600 grand and you want to put 5% down. 5% of that would be an additional 30,000. So you're at 630,000 total purchase price. Okay. 630 because of the land or the loan, you want to reverse it. So $30,000 is your down payment. You got a $600,000 loan. You now know you can have roughly 20% of the value. Value would be, let's say you have roughly 100 grand of equity. Your house is worth about 750. So you're looking at a lot for around 150,000. What you want to do is you want to give yourself some room. So you can say 100 to 200,000. Just be broad because you can make aggressive offers. There's nothing wrong with making an offer.
All right, so this is a key, a critical piece of information right now. So if someone is looking to build a house of a final value of 750,000, they multiply 750,000 by 20%.
Correct.
And they get a value of 150.
Correct.
Now they have a ballpark number of what they can look for. So this is the first search filter, like you just said.
Yeah.
So this is an actual search filter right now. You want the land to be no more than 200,000. You now have 2-3 zip codes that you've selected. All right, you're starting to build a pretty good basis of search filters.
Right. So like if I'm looking for development deals, off topic, but I'm looking for development deals that are within this zip code because I know I can develop there. And I'm looking for them to be at least 1.5 acres or more. That is already a search filter that saves me from going through 1,000 listings. And what you can do is, let's say your budget is 100 to 200,000. You can do 250 because you can get aggressive on offers. And you can turn on a filter for every time there's a new listing, it instantly goes into your email or text message. And this will allow you to look at it. But the MLS I always reference as, it's similar to used car shopping. You're on Craigslist, you know what kind of car you want, 2015 Ford F-150. And now you have to look at 100 of them to hope there's one good deal or 2. Then when you reach out because it's a good deal, what's going to happen? Oh, I have 3 other people that are coming to look at it.
Oh.
What is that? Competition. Why? Because the MLS is accessible to everybody. Which leads me, so now you have your search filters, you can get these deals coming through, but you have competition, which is okay. We can show you how you can beat your competition with different types of offers and structures, and your buyer agent has to be really experienced. So you want to make sure you have the right buyer's agent. Thank you so much for getting this far into the video. If you're an action taker and you're looking for the education side of things, the tools, the resources, everything you need to be successful in the real estate development and new construction game, we have an education platform specifically for you.
Awesome. So text the word YouTube to 360-216-0323 and we'll get you connected to the right team member.
But that leads me to the second option, which is off-market direct to seller. And so that way, why do I like direct to seller? You're not dealing with agents. Agents aren't bad. We actually still use agents for some of our off-market deals, but you're going directly with them. There's no telephone game. You're just directly negotiating with them. 2, you don't have the competition. There's not 10 people trying to hop on the property. And 3, you can negotiate your terms. You can maybe chime in on why would you negotiate terms? What does that mean?
Yeah, so the biggest problem that I find with people that are looking to build their personal home and put only the 5% down, just to be fully transparent, there has to be an additional 2% of closing costs. So total 7% down. So if you're pre-approved, like Arthur said, for a $600,000 home, for example, even though the final value is going to be $750,
you're throwing in the calculator. There you go.
You're going to have a down payment of $42,000 for this $600,000 cost to build, but the value will be higher, $750. So the biggest problem I find is in order to get this type of loan, right, this person has to have approved building permits in hand. It's a caveat. So when you're going to the MLS to find a lot off the market, even though it is feasible and you can negotiate this into your offer, for example, a 60-day closing time frame, a 90-day closing time frame, 120-day closing time frame, depending on your city and jurisdiction and how long it takes to get building permits. St. John's, Indiana, we got building permits in 1 day. In city of Vancouver, we get building permits in 60 days. In city of Portland, the soonest we ever got it was 6 months, but often it can take 12 months to get building permits. So you definitely have to get creative. And how much easier is it to negotiate with a seller off market that's owned their property, for example, search filter, over 10 years and says, you know, hey, would you be interested in selling this lot? Yeah, I would consider it. What's your offer? Boom, you give them an offer. I like that. Hey, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, I can pay you this price. I can buy this lot off market for you. I just under one condition. I need 60 to 90 days to close because I have a special type of loan that I'm getting. They have to have approved building permits in hand in order for me to close on the land. Yeah, sure, no problem. I've owned it for 10 years. I wasn't planning to list it anyway. What difference is it for me to hold the land for an extra 90 days? So that's where negotiation is very helpful and handy when you're targeting off-market properties.
So to summarize, you like the off-market side more because you have the terms, you're not competing with other people. And not that we don't like agents, but 90% of agents aren't necessarily qualified to be agents. There's the 10% that truly produce. And the 10% that produce, we work with a lot. We actually do get off-market deals from agents. And they just have a really good client base, a really good network of people. Now, I think that's a huge key factor is understanding that on the off-market side, we do buy on the MLS. But 80% of what we do is off-market directly with a property owner. It's either over the phone, so we do deals over the phone, laptop, Zoom calls, or it's in person, you shake their hand, you sign a contract. And I think that's a really key important factor because when people say there's no land, land does not exist, there's no more land out there, they're talking about on the MLS. Because if I go right now in any city and I throw in land, there's probably 1,000 listings. I think that the listings that sit the longest and that are on the MLS are land listings. Why? Because they're overpriced. They just throw it out there because I'll just see if I can get something for it.
Lack of vision.
Lack of vision, correct. And so that's what I've noticed is a lot of guys are like, well, I can't ever get a deal on the MLS. You have to understand the good deals typically sell within 1 to 3 days. That's my rule of thumb. The good deals on the MLS sell within 1 to 3 days. 1.
At least go pending.
Go pending. That's what I mean by sell, go pending. Accept an offer. 2, the other option is you wait 6 months. You can turn on a filter, properties for sale for more than 6 months, and you just do aggressive offers based on what you would actually pay for the land. you'll be surprised. You might get some good deals like that. So that's a second strategy using the MLS, that you can just make aggressive offers. I don't do it. I don't really want to or have time for it, because you're just shooting a shot in the dark. But really, we focus on that off-market strategy where we're talking directly to the owner, we're negotiating with them, and we're making it happen. Any last thoughts on step one, finding a lot?
Yeah, I would say another really powerful tool about looking for property off market is creative finance and seller finance. So earlier I mentioned, you're getting a 5% down loan to build this house, right? But let's just say you're in a city like San Diego, where permits take 2 to 3 years to get, or you're in a city like Portland, where permits take 12 months to get. What type of creative finance or custom contract can you create in order to get that kind of deal done?
So 2 options. I think we should do a whole series on this, but 2 options off the cuff. 1, you can do seller finance, where the seller gives you a loan, but you close on it. So you own the land. The risk is you don't have the permits. If it's a good enough deal, personally, if it's that good of a deal, I know for sure it's a great deal. I would rather seller finance, close on it, give them a small down payment, do small interest payments, kind of like a hard money bridge loan, which we can break that down as well.
Can you give an example of the recent deal that we did with a 20K down?
Yeah, so this was more of a home fix and flip, but I can do it with land.
It's right? The same exact.
The home is $480,000. Hard money loan would have said 120K down with everything we were planning to do, okay? Or 100K down. It's 20%. I'd have to double check.
So 20, just so you guys understand Arthur's numbers, 120K down divided by the $480,000 value of the loan or the home, 25% down is what Arthur's doing. Hard money, they require a much higher down payment. Right now we're talking about an owner builder loan, which is 5% down. But continue.
But seller finance, we agreed with the owner. You'd have to pay on the hard money 20 to 25% down for the fix and flip, and we would have to pay around 10% interest payments, 10%
per month.
10% annual interest paid in monthly. We agreed with him. We'll do 20 grand down, because he said that's all I need is 20,000. We didn't say, oh, we'll do 20%. I said, how much money do you need right now? 20K. Great. Let's do 20 grand down. 20 grand on 480 is like, I don't know, 4%. So even better than a FHA or first time home builder. And we agreed to 6% interest, annualized, paid monthly. On the deal, we did the deal for 6 months, sold it, made some money. It was a great cash on cash. Again, that's a whole nother series, but seller finance, meaning he held the land, he held a loan with the title company, and I had to pay the remainder of the 460 at the closing of the flip. The other option is called long-term contract. So what you can do—
Well, before we continue, let's break down that more. So what does that mean? Pay the remainder at the closing of the flip. In this case, it's a new construction. We're going to get a loan for it. But what does that look like? So typically, that's a—
Dive into that more. I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so I just want you guys to understand this strategy. What Arthur is specifically talking about is a promissory note. And the promissory note is recorded on the deed, right? And so there is a loan out for this property for $460,000 that we're making interest-only payments to the owner every single month. The loan does not decrease. We're not paying down principal. But once we finish this remodel, in your case, let's just say you get building permits approved and you can close on the construction loan, right? You would close, the bank would pay off that note, that loan, and then they would give you a new loan for both the construction budget and the land, minus the 5% you bring to the closing table.
Okay, so option 2 would be long-term contracts. What that looks like is you put an agreement together. I've done this before. I said, I need a 15 or 30-day feasibility, just time to make sure the numbers generally make sense. And then the closing would be 3 days after I get permits. And I tell them it takes me roughly 2 months to get these permits approved. And I say, well, it could take 2 to 3 months. Sometimes people say, well, I want like an end date. Okay, a 90-day closing. I know if I can get it in 60, I have 90 days. And once I have the permits approved, my lender comes in and we close on the transaction. During that time, all I have is my earnest money in escrow, and that's the only cash out to the seller in escrow, and then I'm paying for my plans and everything else. But you first got to take each step. We actually have a whole feasibility checklist to make sure that it makes sense. But essentially, you're allowing and leveraging or having the seller hold the land for you while you make sure you can get those building permits done. and you can close on it. So I think that's extremely important to know that you can leverage the seller and sometimes even offer to pay a little bit more. So what I'll do is I'll have two offers. Hey, I can offer you $120,000 and just do a quick close, or I can do $140,000, but I need 90 days to get my permits.
Or 12 months.
Yeah,
you know?
I have never had them take the lesser offer, never, personally. So you can use the strategy of making two offers and make them even more spread out. $100K quick close because I'm taking risk, or $140,000, I just need 90 days. Because what happens is if I have permits, the property value is there.
It's higher than without
the 140. Okay. So you could present two offers, or you present one offer and say, well, the other offer would be significantly less. I'm talking 40, 50,000 less. And they don't even want to think about that one. So I think that's a really good strategy on leveraging, and you can't really do that on the MLS if there's a multiple cash offers, because people that want land that are doing this as investments and building and selling, they're going to make a straight cash offer 7-day close sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm not competing with them. If I'm doing a personal house loan, I want to make sure I'm secured and I don't have to cash out or have to dish out my money and then go and get a loan and then refinance and build.
All right, so let's end out this video in pros to building a personal house and cons.
I would say the con is timing. The con is it's going to take you 6 to 12 months. But you have to understand the con is always outweighed with a pro if it's, in my opinion, on building, because now you got 100 to 250,000 of equity. Me and you both have over 200 grand of equity in our homes because values of homes are a little bit higher in our area. We're in the 700s to 900s. So you have to understand the con of that is, yeah, it's going to take you got to find the land, you got to hire the builder, assemble a team, but is it worth that $100,000 to $200,000? For me, no matter what, it is always worth it because it is a very simple process that you just follow.
Yeah. So con, a little bit of extra work. You have to put the team together, assemble the team, maybe venture into a space that you don't know. But a pro is, you end up with $200,000 to $300,000 of tax-free equity. I'm sure you guys heard us break that down in other YouTube videos. But when it's a personal house, there's no capital gains up to $250,000 if you file single, $500,000 if you're filing married jointly. Another pro I would say is that you get to pick your finishes, right? So yeah. You get to pick your paint colors, cabinets, flooring, window trim color, like those simple little things that you get to pick. A con is probably, it's going to be hard.
If you're not a designer.
Yeah, or it's going to be hard to compete with somebody that's putting a 7-day offer versus you have to get creative and put a 60 to 90-day closing depending on your jurisdiction. So those are some pros and cons. A really big pro, in my opinion, is the 5% down versus an investment property is 20% down.
100%, I agree with you on that. And step 1, finding a lot. Step 2 is going to be running the numbers.
All right, guys.
Make sure the deal makes sense. So next step is going to be running the numbers, making sure they pencil. Absolutely the most critical step is going to be step 2. If the numbers make sense, everything else is easy. So I literally live and breathe on that. You don't have to be a mathematician. You just have to understand how these numbers work and just make sure you plug and play. Thank you guys so much for watching our video. I hope you learned something new today. Like, share, and subscribe.
Awesome, guys. And we also have a community channel that I would love for you to be a part of. We have people posting in there every day. We have lenders, builders, people aspiring to build their own homes, college students. It's a great place to network and connect. That URL is 7fig.io, 7fig.io. See you there.